What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Bill, and in today's video we are going over the Bronco again. The last video definitely got some attention. I had quite a few questions come out of it, so I wanted to address a couple of them. So first things first, I wanted to address a couple of questions about GOAT mode to start with. Now, what GOAT mode is basically like a tuner for your car, where you can select different tunes that are available. So the engineers over at Ford said, hey, what are the optimal settings for the Bronco if somebody's driving normally? What's the optimal settings if somebody's going through mud? Optimal settings for sand, etc. Those settings include the gearbox, whether it's in 2 high, 4 high, whether everything should be locked or nothing should be locked, a number of parameters. So, and it's made to be really simple. If you could tell the difference between sand and mud, you should be able to use it. You should be able to say, hey, look, that is sand ahead. I'm going to change into sand mode. It's going to go into that mode. You can tell what mode it is up in the left hand corner. It says off-road use only. To see that it locked the rear differential, put it into 4 high. Now if I look here, that also indicates it's locked, also indicates it's at 4 high. No problem. If you notice, I was in park when I put that. You can change modes in park. I can go to sport mode now. It's going to change 4x4. It's going to put it in 2 high. It's going to unlock everything. The acceleration's going to be, the gas pedal's going to be a little more sensitive. It's going to be a little more responsive now if I push my foot on the gas than it would be if I was in sand, because they know if I'm in sand, I gotta take off a little slower, prevent the wheels from spinning. The only thing it doesn't do is change your tire pressures, which that would be impressive if they could pull that off to where it aired down for you if you selected a different mode. Okay, you could change modes in park. That was a question that I had. Can you change modes when you're in park? Yes, you can. Should you be able to? No idea. I would think you would need to be in neutral, just like many of you did, but you don't have to be. Of course, if you are in neutral, we'll go to mud ruts. It does work. 4x4 shift in progress. Locks, puts it at 4 high. Everything as expected, because we are neutral. We go to eco mode. Shift back to 2 high. Everything's unlocked. Guess what? Put it in drive. You can still change GOAT modes. Now, it will say 4x4 shift in progress, and it probably will never actually shift into 4x4, but it doesn't say mode not available. It doesn't say anything like that. In fact, if I go to neutral now, it'll go ahead and shift. So should it even allow you to select anything when you're in park or in drive? Probably not, because it's not going to shift, but the screen, everything still makes it look like it's going to work. It doesn't say shift to neutral, doesn't say anything like that. You need to know that you need to shift it into neutral. No problem, we got that figured out. I'm gonna go ahead and put it back in park, put it back in normal mode, which is what I normally drive. 4x4 shift in progress. We're back at 2 high, nothing's locked, everything's normal. Now that is different behavior than what had happened before. So yes, I know I was driving in mud rut mode. The rear wheel spun and it kicked me out of mud rut mode and put me back into normal mode. Now what happened is the rear wheel spun. It caused the left hand rear wheel speed sensor got a reading it didn't like. Since it got a reading it didn't like, it disenabled the GOAT mode. It said, hey, I don't know what's going on here. Disable this mode because it's not working properly. Should that happen again? I don't think so, because you would think with a mud mode, something meant for off-roading, it would expect that you would have an amount of wheel spin, and it would compensate for that. That's not what happened. Why it got a reading it didn't like? Will it always happen? That I don't know. We'll find out. We'll take it again. You do have an appointment with the dealership. They're going to pull all the codes. They're going to look at it and see exactly why the wheel spin caused all this trouble. It makes sense to one extent. It does make sense. Like, hey, it's getting a reading it doesn't understand. Disable that mode. Something's not working right. But at the same time, it should understand wheel spin when you're in an off-road mode. It should expect that you're going to have some wheel spin. That being said, the good thing about that was, even though the GOAT mode failed, it kicked it out and went into normal mode. I was not able to put it into any other GOAT modes, or I was manually able to select 4 low. I was able to manually lock the locker, and I was able to get out of there. I didn't have to get towed out. You know, I wasn't abandoned on the side of the road or anything. The car worked. I say manually, it's still push button, but push the button, it did what it was supposed to do. Everything worked. So that part is great. The GOAT mode seems a little finicky to me to be considered something that, you know, something that is off-road worthy should, in my opinion, be able to expect some wheel spin. That being said, without GOAT mode, everything worked perfect. Everything was fine, no problems. The other question was, you know, which I think I just addressed, was, well, do you need to use the GOAT modes? Which, no, you don't. You can just come in, shift to 4 high, which again, you could do in park, neutral, drive. You could pretty much do any. The only mode, here, I'll go back to 2 high. The only one, like if I go 4 high here, 4x4 shift in progress, no problem. If I try to go to 4 low, 4 low is the only one that says you need to shift to neutral for. And it does. It tells you, hey, shift to neutral for this. Even in park, you can't shift from 4 low in park and drive in anything but neutral. So hopefully that helps clear up some of the questions about that. The Bronco did not abandon me on the side of the road. The GOAT mode did fail. And it's not because I didn't know how to select it or anything like that. I was already in the GOAT mode. It just came out of it on its own when it got a bad sensor reading, or a reading from a sensor that it didn't like. All the readings suggest that it was the wheel spin that had caused that, and that's what happened. I know exactly what happened. I'm gonna look into why it happened. If there's any updates that need to be done, it's all software related. Nothing to do with the driveline, nothing to do with the gear selector, with the transfer case or anything like that. It's just all software related. It's a brand new platform. There's going to be software issues, and I'm aware of that. So I'm not too concerned about it anymore. When it first happened, I was very concerned. Now, not so concerned. I understand what happened and how it happened. Just not 100% sure with the why it happened. A couple of other questions I did have. One was about the manual seat adjustments. The passenger side does not have the lumbar support. So that was a question. Another question I've seen was about the top, and I'm not going to go into a whole spiel on that, but people are asking, can you remove the clamshell only? So question was, can you remove the clamshell only? It goes on the back first, then this has its own clips in the front. These rear quarter turns are actually clamping onto the top, and this middle piece overlaps the back piece. So you could technically unclamp those, take the back off, but then the back of this would have nothing to clamp itself to. It would just be holding on by these hooks, and I imagine that would put way too much stress on those. So technically you could take the back off, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's going to put way too much stress on the front of these. The back's going to probably bounce around. So no, you cannot do just the clamshell. Oh, the other one was about sound quality of the speakers. I've seen there's been a couple of questions about that, and it's hard to demo sound quality on a video because it's going to be dependent on my camera, the video compression, and whatever it is that you're listening to things on. So it's really hard to properly demonstrate audio quality through a video. So I will just comment on it. These front speakers, this is just the standard sound system. So you got the front speakers here and there. They sound great. They are the powerhouses. And then you have these two speakers in the rear right here. Now those do not sound nearly as good as the front speakers. The front speakers are way overpowered compared to them, or these are just way underpowered, I should say, because the front ones are good. The rear ones are underpowered, and they do not sound very good. So if you have everything perfectly centered, you can't even tell you have speakers in the rear, really. You just hear all the sound coming from the front. So if you reduce the sound, bring the focal point back a little bit to reduce the sound in the front and bring up the rears a bit, you get a more balanced sound all around, and you can tell that you don't have just two front speakers. But the sound quality is not as good from these rear speakers as they are from the front. So then you start going down in quality. So as far as audio, these front speakers, they're actually pretty good. The rear ones are not good at all. So it's a mixed review pretty much. But yes, the audio quality, it's not great. It's not as horrible as some people make it out to be, but those rear speakers are not great. So overall, I am still very happy with the Bronco. We'll continue. I'll try again, take it off-road, see this weekend hopefully. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's not the end of the world. It was a software issue. When there was a software issue, I was able to manually, well, as manually as you can with a push button selector, put it into the gear that I wanted and lock the differential and get out of there. So at the end of the day, that's a win. Anyway, hope that gives you the answers you're looking for. If it did, hit that thumbs up button. If you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any other questions, go ahead and leave them down in the comments below. I will try to answer as many as I can. I know there's a lot of them. People are very anxious to get their hands on these. I was somehow lucky enough to get one. So if there's anything I can answer for you, please let me know, and I will see you next time.